I welcome each and every one of you to this Comeback Yoga class. Comeback Yoga is a nonprofit organization. We are based out of Denver, Colorado. We serve veterans and active duty military along with your support team. And we are here 24 hours a day for you on this YouTube channel, offering all levels classes, level 2 classes, meditation, yoga nidra, gentle, and you name it. You can pretty much find whatever you're looking for here, and you can rinse and repeat, do it over and over again, or find something else that you might like any time of day. And if you are joining me live, wow, what an honor it is to be here for you and to support you in this way. My name is Tonya, if I didn't already say that, and we're here for about 45 minutes, and it's just great to be here to start out this day with you. We'll be doing a little bit of warm up and then doing some standing poses, and then down to the mat for some long stretches. If you have a yoga mat or an exercise mat, you'll want to go ahead and grab that. If you have yoga blocks, um, literally, it could be a block, a wooden block, or it could be a yoga block, a foam block. You can get these online or at your local store, maybe even find a yoga studio locally that might be willing to maybe even donate to you. So check that out. So if you don't have any questions, we'll go ahead and get started. Today, make sure with this all levels class, I'll be offering you some different variations of some poses, some things that are really going to be supportive for you with some options, some choices that you will have to get through the class so that it's something that is the practice is working for you, and you aren't trying to kind of make yourself work into the practice, if that makes sense. So you do what you can and work with what you've got today. All right, we're going to go ahead and have a seat. I'm just sitting on a cushion. You could be sitting on, again, a pillow, cushion, or blanket. And you can have your legs crossed or straight, whatever works for you. You could even be sitting in a chair. Do you know that over time, having a little bit of support underneath you helps to support lengthening the spine, a little tilt in the pelvis, and can take pressure out of the knees. And so over time, it does get a little bit better, generally speaking. And we use tools to help support us in the process. So that's why we're using blanket or a pillow or a yoga block. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So I'd like to invite you to just place your hands right upon your heart here. And you might feel your heart beating. You can have your hand literally on the heart or maybe more at the center of the chest, where we can feel the breath coming in and leaving. So your eyes can be closed or open. We'll feel the length of our body, feeling the width, the collarbones broadening and releasing. Let's just take a few more times of opening, lifting the chest, and then releasing. Let's do a few more times. If you feel like your breath can go a little bit lower into the abdomen or the side ribs, go ahead and let it move there. So not just breathing in the upper chest, but maybe even placing the hands on the ribs to feel your ribs broadening. Literally like a balloon, feeling the breath drawing in and then the narrowing at the throat and the upper chest, and then filling the balloon out sideways and even downward. So as your breath comes in, you can see the container of your torso and your lungs literally filling in. And then as you breathe out, that that sort of collapses inward. You can even add some hand movement if you like, thinking about filling up the container and then releasing it. 2 more breaths just like this. Good. All right, so release that and lift your gaze if your eyes were closed. We'll take our arms up towards the ceiling and just reach up towards the ceiling and pull down with the other arm. It's kind of like you're reaching for something in the top cabinet, or maybe you're climbing up a ladder or a beanstalk. And like last one. Good. All right. Rolling the shoulders a couple of times up, down, and back. And last, let's go the other way a couple of times. Good. And then one more roll back. And then taking one ear to the shoulder with the opposite hand, stretching out, maybe fingertips on the floor. And then stretching out the other way, ear to shoulder, maybe pressing those fingertips down to the floor. And then lifting your head back up to center. And then taking your hands behind your head, elbows forward, and bring your chin towards the chest, maybe a little bit of backward pressure with the head. And then with your next inhale, let's lift the elbows wide, taking your gaze up towards the ceiling. And then exhaling, bringing those elbows forward, creating a little bit of resistance. And it doesn't matter how wide your elbows go. Maybe find a place where they just like to stop. Maybe there's a little bit of resistance. Let's do 3 more. So just kind of finding that range of motion that feels okay to you, where there isn't pain, but maybe moving a little bit into some spaciousness. Last time. Good. And then releasing the hands down. Let's bring one arm across the chest, holding on to the tricep or the forearm and turning your head towards that shoulder. Maybe even tucking your chin. And then coming back through center. Let's do the other arm across, looking over. And again, maybe dropping the chin down. And we're almost done sitting here. So, in fact, if you want to change the cross of your legs or change any position you're in, if you're sitting in a chair, maybe just get a little situated. We're almost done here. Bring your hands to your shoulders and circle your elbows up and around. Again, just kind of noticing the range of motion from one side to the other. One side might feel more restricted than the other, and one side might not go quite as wide as the other. And then let's go the other direction. That's noticing your breath the whole way. Like, are you holding your breath? Are you breathing normally? All right, good. And then let's just pause for a moment, just kind of noticing the energetic effects of some of that movement. And maybe take just a couple of moments to notice the vibrancy that comes with movement. All right, last little bit here while we're seated. You're going to bring your hands forward, thumbs into your palms, and wrap your fingers around the thumbs, and then circle your wrists. You can have those elbows bent or straight. And then let's go the other way. Good. All right. And then just kind of shaking out the fingers. All right. Shall we get moving with the bigger joints now? So we'll come onto our back for just a moment of moving through the knees and the hips. So rolling yourself on down to the floor or your mat. And first, we'll just stretch out our body, feeling all the length from the toe tips to the fingertips. Maybe even taking like a little side bending. Just kind of opening up the front line of your body. And then bring one knee into your chest. You can hold on to the back of your knee or your shin and just kind of move your arms forward and back. And then straightening that leg, circling your ankle. Going the other way if you haven't already. All right. And now draw that knee back into your chest and circle your knee around. If you'd rather, your other knee can be bent for a little bit more stability. And change directions. All right. And now straighten your leg up to the ceiling and lower your leg down towards the floor and then bring it in. So kind of like you're cycling a big bicycle that you're moving through. As your leg's going to go straight, sweeping the floor. And then let's reverse directions. So again, just getting into the into the bigger joints. All right, last one there. Go ahead and bend both knees, placing those feet about hip distance or a little bit wider, letting the knees fall together and pausing, noticing any sensations in that leg that we just worked with. Holding it for just a couple of moments. And now then, let's go ahead and switch sides. So drawing your knee in towards your chest and just kind of moving back and forth. You can hold on to the back of your leg or the front of the shin. If you have any pain in your knee, you probably don't want to pull on the shin. You probably want to have your hands behind your leg. And then straighten that leg to the ceiling. Circle the ankle joint here in both directions. Good. All right, and then bringing that knee in for some circles. Other way. And then your other knee is bent. We'll take our leg that we're working with straight up into the air and then down towards the floor. Big cycle here. Up and down, up and down and in. And then changing directions. Again, noticing your breath. Are you breathing? Is it smooth? Well, of course you're breathing, but is it smooth and regular, or are you holding your breath? All right, last one. And then placing your feet down again, maybe as wide as your mat if you've got a mat, and let those knees fall together. We're almost done here on our back. So the next thing is we're going to take our arms out into a wide T position, keeping your feet about as wide as your mat. Go ahead and rock those knees side to side, turning your head in the opposite direction. Just moving side to side. All right, wonderful. And let's go ahead and let those knees come together here. We'll just rest for just one moment, just kind of noticing any sensations in our body that are providing a little bit of levity and aliveness, vibrancy, that kind of thing. All right, let's go ahead and now come onto your stomach. So we'll come into a sphinx pose. Your arms are going to be parallel like so, and your legs are going to go straight back. And you're going to take your fingers out nice and wide, pressing down into the fingertips, and just take your chest through a little bit just to kind of open up the chest. Even lift your chin if that feels okay. Another thing is you could bring your chin down a little bit as well. All right, wonderful. Come all the way down onto your stomach, resting your head on the back of your hands, and bend your knees, rock your knees side to side. So kind of the same thing we just did, the windshield wiper movement, but this time we're on our stomach and the lower legs are the only thing that's moving. All right. Use your hands, placing them behind your shoulders, knees stay on the floor, and you can either press up to tabletop or plank, whatever is the best for your body. So plank, your knees would be lifted. Tabletop, knees down under the hips. You could also have your knees back behind your hips for a little bit more of a challenge for your core. So let's just hold this for a moment. You could also come down to your forearms if you'd rather, not put any strain on your wrists. So those are some variations for beginning to warm up our core. All right, so let's just hold this for another maybe 2 or 3 breaths, feeling the steadiness, the strength, as well as the ease. Last breath. Wonderful. All right, moving your hips up and back for a downward dog. Feet are going to be about hip distance apart, and you're forming a triangle with your body. If you feel any strain on the shoulders, consider bending your knees and moving your hips back a bit more. You can also come more into happy puppy pose with the hips back and the arms forward. And there won't be any weight on the wrist, and there'll be more on the knees. So take 2 more breaths wherever you've landed, whether you're in happy puppy or whether you are in downward dog. Nice long breath, feeling the connection of your hands to the ground, your feet to the ground. Wonderful. All right. So walk our hands and feet towards one another and coming into a forward fold with the knees bent. I'll drop the hips low enough that you can just kind of lay your torso over your legs and grab opposite elbows. Make a couple of head movements side to side, back and forth. All right, looking forward, hands to your legs and rise up like you were doing a cobra or sphinx pose. Let's take a moment. Goodness, we've been on the ground for a bit today. So just kind of getting your bearings, going from sea level now to the mountaintops, essentially, in mountain pose. And go ahead and face the screen or the long edge of your mat, and we'll find mountain pose. So the feet are going to be about hip distance apart, and you can even look at your feet. Just create some, connection between the toes, and that internal connection of your feet touching the ground and how your feet are part of your body. So we'll just do a quick body scan in mountain pose. Your eyes can be open or closed. And you want to feel your feet. You can even rock back and forth a little bit here, up onto the toes, maybe the heels and the toes, stretching out through the toes, wiggling the toes. Usually the fingers get involved too, and that's perfectly normal. Um, so then start to feel the strength of your legs, feel your knees, your hips, feeling your shoulders, your torso. It's getting really tall, heart lifted, but nice and kind of a relaxed state, but also feeling strong and tall like that mountain, like the mountain pose that it is. We'll take a couple more breaths here. One more breath. Good. All right, let's move a little bit here. So turning the palms out, inhale, bringing your arms up full length of your body, maybe taking a little bit of a back bend. And then exhaling, arms go out wide and start to dive forward towards the floor. Bring your hands up onto your legs, lengthening your torso. And then exhaling, folding back over your torso. Bend your knees, arms go out wide. Inhale, rise up to standing with a flat back. And then exhaling, hands to the heart. Let's repeat. Inhale, arms rise. Bend the knees, exhale, grow really long and fold forward over your legs, releasing your head down to the ground or towards the ground, anyways. Lengthen as you bring your hands to your shins, gazing at the floor, chin tucked. Exhale, release your torso over your legs. Bending the knees, dropping the hips, flat back, looking forward, inhaling, rising all the way up to standing, and exhaling, hands to the heart. Let's repeat one more time. Palms turn out, inhaling, exhaling, bending knees and tipping forward, releasing head down. Inhale, lengthening. Use the strength of your back, and exhale, use the strength of your core, releasing your head down. Inhale, rise up to standing, up to mountain pose, and exhaling, hands coming to the heart. Wonderful. All right, now we'll turn to face the long edge of the mat if you're using that, and we'll add on to that sequence with lunges. So here, if you're using blocks, you could use blocks just to bring the floor a little closer to you. It makes your arms a little bit longer. So, there's two factors there. Maybe your arms are shorter, or maybe your hamstrings are shorter. Okay, inhale. Let's rise up to standing mountain. Bend the knees, exhale, and fold forward. Maybe hands to the floor or those blocks. Lengthen spine and torso on an inhale, and then exhale, release over your legs. If you're using blocks, turn them on the long side and step one leg back into a lunge. Option is to come down to your knee, if that's okay on your knee. Otherwise, you can stay here with the long spine, long leg. Now let's add a twist. So that front knee, that same arm, you're going to take it up towards the ceiling for a twist. You can have that block there for support, and then hand comes down. Now push off that back foot and fold forward. That's the tricky part. All right, lengthen the torso again. Half lift, exhale, fold over the legs. Take your other leg back now into that lunge. And if it feels like you have more space, then send your back leg a little bit longer and maybe the hips coming a little bit lower without completely sagging. Option is to bring your knee down. Pushing into that front foot, take that front arm, twist towards the knee and up the ceiling. Maybe even looking up to the ceiling. Take your hand down and lengthen out. Pushing off again to a fold, feet hip distance, releasing your head. Lengthen out and then fold all the way. Bend the knees, lower the hips, rise to that flat back and lift, 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 lift to mountain. Exhaling hands to the heart. Okay, are you ready to do one more round? Let's do it. So you might have more space in your body and feel like you don't need blocks, but they're nice to have nearby. Okay. My cord is a little tight here. Let's do it. Turn those palms up. Inhale. So really stretch long. Ignite the lower body even. Exhaling and activate your core. Inhaling. Muscles on the back are engaged, and exhale, muscles in the front engage. Hands to the floor, blocks. One leg goes back, lunge, look forward, stretch out through the back heel. Inhale, twist towards that knee. Exhale, take your hand down, look forward, and that back foot comes forward to a fold. Inhale, lift and lengthen out. Exhale, really grow long through your spine and torso. And step your other leg back. Push down into the feet. Feel the legs charge up with muscle tension or muscle strength. Twist towards that knee. Take it down. Lengthen, look. Push off. Fold. Lift halfway. And reach towards the floor with your head. And then bend those knees. Come all the way up. Extension here. And hands to the heart. And let's pause here in mountain pose. A moment to catch our breath. A moment of stillness. Although there's a lot of moving, maybe some wobbling, maybe you're feeling your muscles engaged, warmed up. Maybe you're finding muscles you didn't know you had. And release your hands down. Wonderful. All right, let's take our legs out into a wide position and bring your hands in front of your chest. Turn your leg out, it doesn't matter which one, and coming into warrior two, bending that knee down into warrior two. Pushing down into the front foot, stretching out through those arms. And then reverse your warrior, taking your arm up to the ceiling, side bend here. Yes, good. Now we're going to straighten that front leg, keep the side bend. We'll add triangle here. So reach towards your front leg. You're going to reach till you just can't reach anymore. You feel the legs engage, and then take it down to your triangle. Hand to the shin or the floor, top arm to the ceiling. Beautiful. Bend your knee, come up out of that, and we'll do the other side. So let those arms relax a moment, and then turn the other direction. So you're out. It's just as wide as comfortable, but yet challenging. Arms coming out, reach out, and then exhale, your knee coming down. You have options to come down even more or even more without losing the strength in the legs, pushing your feet down into the floor. And here we go. Let's reach the top arm up for a side bend. And then straightening out your leg. Reach up, reach up, reach up. and then reach towards the wall. Keep reaching, reaching, and reaching, and then take your top arm up. So you have options. You're here, or you're here. Some of you, maybe even all the way to the floor, will find length through the whole body. Last one, last breath, and then come on up. Nice job. Well, that's a good stretch, isn't it? All right, so parallel your feet. We're going to come into a forward fold here and work our way to the ground. Inhale, take your arms out wide. Bend your knees a little bit. Exhale, move your hips back and maybe touch the floor or those blocks as you straighten your legs. Letting your head again nod back and forth, side to side. All right, coming down to the floor. We're going to come into a variation of frog pose. So you can turn towards the long or the short edge of your mat, come down onto your stomach. And first we'll do like a little cobra. Your hands come back behind your shoulders. Lift your chest up. And then come on down. All right. I'm going to roll to one side for starters and bring that top knee in towards your chest so you can grab your shin, knee, or ankle. And then bring your knee in line with your hip or back behind your hip. That's going to stretch your quad, the front of the leg here. If you feel like you could use a little bit more, then you're going to roll onto your stomach. It's more of like a fall onto your stomach. And you can stretch the leg out there. So those are some variations. You can also, if you have it in your body today, you can come up a little bit higher and stretch even your shoulder. So it's like a 2-for-1. Buy one, get one. Okay. So just wherever you are, noticing your breath. I've found myself short of breath. So I'm going to deepen my breath. Just allowing myself to slow down a little bit for 3 more breaths. Good. And release that. Let's switch sides. So rolling to your side. For starters, sometimes it's difficult you might get a Charlie horse. I hear that a lot, see that a lot. So being on your side might help take that out. You could also be using a towel, kind of wrap it around your foot or ankle. And if you're ready for more, then you come onto your stomach. For that variation, the next variation is to come up onto your forearm. Last 2 breaths. Sorry. All right, and release. And then come onto your stomach if you're not there, resting your head on your hands. And just take a moment to just kind of moving now, last couple of stretches, and then into our final meditation. So we're just using this moment to kind of integrate and notice any changes or shifts. Maybe you're feeling a little bit more relaxed, or maybe you're feeling more alive. So yoga has the effect both ways on us. Sometimes it's hard to explain. We come to it sometimes with an expectation, and we leave with something completely different than what we came for. All right, we're going to roll to one side. You can have your head resting on your bottom arm, or if you had a cushion, just resting, your knees coming up close towards your chest. I'll hold for about 5 breaths. Using this kind of as our, um, like we would child's pose. So if you'd rather do child's pose, you can. A little bit more for the hips, whereas this is going to be kinder, gentler to the knees and the ankles. It's still beneficial, but just a variation. All right, last breath here. All right. Now you're going to take your top arm, sweep it up overhead, and come into a twist. If you had space, I ran out of space. That top arm moving back behind you, you can kind of shrug your bottom shoulder towards your knees and turn. We'll hold for 3 breaths. And then coming back onto your side, you're going to send your top leg straight forward, hold on to your calf, your foot, or your ankle, and then draw your head towards or between your arms for a sideline hamstring stretch. All right. And then roll more of a crawl, really, onto your back. Unless you had a lot of space, you could roll onto your back. And we'll just take a moment to kind of reorient and realign before we do the second side there. All right, let's take the knees now to the other side and then once you get to your side, then let's add that twist. So circling the top arm out and behind you, maybe looking over the outside arm, maybe even moving through the wrist a little bit. We didn't do that on the other side, but you can flex and extend your fingers for 2 more breaths. All right. And then coming on to your side for that hamstring stretch, your leg goes forward, your hands clasp your leg somewhere along the line, forehead towards the shin. All right. Making your way onto your back. And we'll do one kind of a bridge pose here. So your feet just a little bit wider than your hips. Bend your elbows with the palms facing one another. You're going to press down into those arms, tuck your shoulders underneath a little bit, and then begin to press down into the feet to lift your hips up towards the ceiling. Once you get to the top, descend back down, this time one vertebra at a time, coming down to the floor. You feel as your back comes down, and then release your hands resting somewhere on your body. Maybe hands on the abdomen, one on the chest or the side ribs. And then just let the feet come wider than your hips, maybe to the edge of your mat, and the knees falling together. We've got one final pose here for the hips. So we'll take the one ankle on top of the opposite knee. And you might be like, that might be adequate sensation. The next option is to place your foot elevated on maybe a block or even on the wall. That's a nice option. And then the next option is to bring your knees in towards your chest. And then switching sides, ankle to knee, and breathing. If you've never heard that from a yoga teacher, breathe. Well, it's maybe because your ears weren't listening for it, because we always are reminding ourselves to breathe. Because as we go throughout our day and we go off of the mat, sometimes we find ourselves in a state of anxiety or stress, at our job or life itself. And if we just take a moment to pause, drop into our breath, can really help to distill what's really important and help us to find ease and clarity. All right, wonderful. Placing your feet down to the floor, maybe even straightening your legs. We've arrived at our final relaxation. We're here for about 5 minutes today. So get yourself comfortable. You might be sitting, you might be lying on your sides, or even on your stomach. Most importantly, is that you are comfortable. You're in a secure location where, if it feels right to you to close your eyes, you can do so. And you can have maybe you need a little covering or something on your feet. And think to keep yourself at a comfortable temperature, as well, as the body tends to get a little colder as our body wants to conserve energy, goes to the core to keep it warm. And so your feet and hands might get a little cold. So once you've gotten comfortable, notice if there's still maybe some movement that needs to get out. Maybe the eyelids are fluttering a little bit. Maybe your jaw is tense. Maybe there's some gripping in your fists. Maybe just releasing that, creating some space between the fingers. And maybe there's a little bit of side to side movement still needed in the head for some little bit of neck release. And then what about your feet, the bottoms of your feet, or the way your legs are positioned? There's no right or wrong in how you find your final position here. There's no particular um, position that you need to be in to have an integration of the class. So just dropping in a few more moments, feeling the surface beneath you, and feeling your body breathing, feeling the movement of breath, drawing in to fill you up, and the release of breath to nourish you. And as you draw attention to the jaw, the inside of your mouth, maybe there's a smile that forms with the lips, allowing the teeth to maybe even be exposed, feeling the energetics of a smile. Even just bringing to mind a smile, how does that land in your body? Where do you notice this? Is there an energetic quality even when you imagine someone else's smile? Does it light you up? Does that smile energize you? And is a smile contagious? Is a smile, as it originates maybe in the facial muscles, does the smile also become part of you? You feel it in every cell and every pore of your being, feeling the smile. Take maybe 3 more breaths with this energetic quality of your whole being smiling. And last breath here. Begin now to just let that go and awaken to your surroundings, awaken to the room around you, and begin to move a little through your fingers and toes, maybe turning your head side to side as you awaken. And if you're not already seated and you'd like to join me in a seated position to close our time together, I invite you to do so so that we can close out this session. Of course, you're welcome to stay here if you like. Otherwise, I would just like to thank every one of you for showing up today, and may your smile today be contagious. Thanks again for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful and blessed day. If you're not familiar with Comeback Yoga, please check us out. You can follow the link below. You can also donate to our organization and find out more about us online. So I look forward to seeing you next time. Be well and keep in touch.